Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is No Budget Duelist bringing you my new Steelswarm deck list for you all. I'm just gonna jump right into this thing, just go right at it. So, for the Steelswarm engine, we've got 3 Steelswarm Collars, 3 Steelswarm Cell, 2 Steelswarm Gatekeeper, 3 Steelswarm Gearstag, 2 Steelswarm Mantis, and 2 Steelswarm Moth. For the Dark support, we have 3 Stygian Street Patrol, 2 Dark Greffers, and 1 Dark Armed Dragon. And then for the staple monsters, we have 3 Effect Veiler and 1 Gores. For the spells, as you can see, we're not running any traps in this deck. We've got 1 Allure of Darkness, 3 Double Summons, 2 First Step Towards Invasion, 2 Infestation Pandemic, something I don't know the name of the card, I'm just going to refer to it as Infestation Pandemic, 1 Monster Reborn, 2 Pot of Dualities, 3 Recurring Nightmares, and 1 Reinforcement of the Army. The first thing I want to go over in the deck is just like, why Steelswarms? Why are they good? What can Steelswarms do for me? So basically, the second part of the name explains it all. They can swarm really well. As you can see, this variant doesn't run the Treeborn Frog of the archetype, the Steelswarm Scout. The reason being that when you use Scout, it actually does a minus to you if you're planning on trying to swarm this turn, because it prevents all of your special summoning for the rest of the turn, except for Steelswarm Scout. Which, this deck could easily, without a doubt, run Steelswarm Scout in it, because I don't run any traps, and that's how my build originally was, and I'm just not a fan of using a lot of traps anyway. I don't like, setting a lot of back rows and then watching my opponent blow me up. So, I just don't run anything that I need to, blow up. Well, I don't need to get blown up. So, I lost my train of thought. I apologize for that. You can double summon into Collar, into Mantis, to tribute summon. Then Collar's effect activates, summons Steelswarm Gatekeeper, and then that's when Mantis hits the field. Then Mantis' effect activates and summons the Collar back. Then you get another normal summoner set that turn, so then you tribute Collar for Gearstag, summon your other Collar, and summon your other Gatekeeper or another Collar from your deck. Preferably another Collar so that you can keep Gatekeepers in there. Then you would exceed summon for either Evilswarm Bahamut, or let's say you somehow got another level 4 out, you would exceed for Evilswarm Ouroboros, which both of them are in the extra deck, and both of them are in doubles, because they're both really amazing in this deck. Yeah. But going on with that combo, basically then you just, preferably you would go for Bahamut, because it lets you take control of an opponent's monster, rather than just return it back to their hand. Unless, of course, they're, rocking 1 back row card, and, you're afraid it might be a Mirror Force, and the 1 monster they had you can get over and then still attack for game. Then, you just, then you might go for the Ouroboros, but, really, you want to go for the Bahamut, because you have extra space on your field, and it's always nice to do the extra little bit of damage at the end. So, yeah. So that's your main Steelswarm combo. That's what gets your OTKs. Now, that's your only OTK combo in this deck, and it's pretty consistent, and you can do it like 4 times in a row. So, that's really nice. If I could probably find a way to put a Pot of Avarice in this deck, and then you would really be able to do it 4 times in a row, and that wouldn't be an exaggeration at all. But this deck is able to do that whole loop like 2 or 3 times in a duel, so that's actually really good. And then the Stygian Street Patrol is the same thing as a double summon, but it's also like a monster you can set in case your opponent has 1 big monster. Like, let's say they're running Malefics and they don't have their skill drain yet. Then you just set Stygian, they attack it, and it dies, but Uh, next turn now you have your special summon, and hopefully they don't activate Skill Drain, but that's why you activate Infestation Pandemic Virus, or whatever. I think it's virus. I don't know, but that's not important right now. Uh, so this deck just has a lot of different ways to start the combo, and it has a lot of different ways to go through the combo. Because derp, I'm sorry, I'm spacing out here. All right, well that's the combo, and then the ways to set up for the combo are with your Dark Greffers, which you can basically normal summon a Dark Greffer, send either Steelswarm Color, Cell, or Gear, or any of the tribute summon monsters from your hand, and then you send another monster from your deck to your graveyard, and then you recurring Nightmare it back into your hand. So for the price of a spell card, you get to add any Steelswarm monster from your deck to your hand. Which, I mean, it's kind of a complicated combo. Oh, it's not complicated, but it's a little bit beating around the bush for adding one monster to your hand. But it's the fastest way to do it, and you need cards in your hand anyway for this deck to work. So you're not going minus anything. You're normal summoning a 1700 monster, which isn't a beat stick, but it's good. It's respectable on the field. There are some cards that can get over it, and there's some cards that can't. But yeah. So let's see. The Dark Greffer combo. That's going to be your main combo. That's going to be how you're getting your setup, along with the Pot of Duality. So what I would do is Greffer, then like discard a Steelswarm monster to send another Steelswarm monster, recurring Nightmare back in your hand. Then after you shuffle, now you Pot of Duality and pick up the top 3 cards. Hopefully you drew another Tribute Summon card. So now you have 2 in your hand, preferably them being either Gearstag or Moth, and then a Mantis, because Mantis is absolutely insane in Steelswarms if you play it like this. Because in the Steelswarm Scout variant, its effect is virtually useless because Scout stops all your special summons. So you're basically summoning a 2200 beater. Woo! It's not even that good. But in this variant, because it lets you recycle your monsters without really going minus any, it does a lot of work for you. And it gets you very fast for virtually no work. And then you go into your Moth for your OTKs or your Gearstag just for a little bit more breaking your opponent's setup, and you're a little unsure of whether you're going to be able to go for game. Moth is the card of confidence in this deck. Gearstag is better in more situations, but Moth is the card that you use when you're about to go for game because it breaks setups so much better. Because you can't do much with cards in your hand versus cards in your graveyard. Because with cards in your graveyard, you have things like Calls the Haunted. There are tons of other things you could do with things in the graveyard as well. But in your hand, there's not really much. There's like Battle Fader, Gores, and Tragodia. And that's really all I know that can stop attacks from while it's in your hand. Or like Gaga Gardna. Although nobody runs Gaga Gardna because it's not amazing. So, it's just a card to mention that could be another card that could stop you. But it's nothing really. So, then the Allure is just draw power along with the Pot of Dualities. It's more setup than anything else. And the Rhoda is more for setup than anything else, because if you Rhoda into a Dark Greffer and then you do the whole combo thing, that really speeds up the deck. And then Dead, since this deck is manipulating your graveyard so much, yeah, you're running all darks except for 3 monsters, But you're going to be able to get so many darks into the graveyard and out of the graveyard that you're almost going to be able to keep it at 3 almost the whole time if you really wanted to. So getting dad out is absolutely no problem in this deck. You just gotta manipulate the cards right and plan out your moves. So if you're not very good at planning moves, this might not be the deck for you. I know that uh, I've missed a couple really good combos that I could have done that would have gone for game, that would have allowed me to go for game. But you know, the one time I did do it, it was it was basically unstoppable. He had no answers for it, which is one thing that's really nice about this deck. It can just bounce back. It can just bounce back every turn. It can bounce back every other turn. Uh, so yeah, and there's so much setup involved with this deck, and so much recycling involved with this deck, and so much direct recycling where it just brings it back to your hand rather than sending it back to your deck with like Pot of Avarice, which it would be a nice card to run in here because you're sending so much and tributing so much that so many of your cards are getting into the graveyard. So yeah, I guess I've just run out of things to say for the deck. Besides the effect failures, which those are there purely because I've gotten into, I don't know, 6 or 7 matchups where effect failure should have been there in my deck, and if it was in there in my deck, I would have won because I had the perfect combo coming up next turn. But since they were able to derp on me, then I wasn't able to get my combo off. So yeah, my that's just my whole thing about effect fail right there. And then Gores, because you don't run any back row, they might destroy all your monsters. Then they just attack directly Gores, and then what are they gonna do about it? You know, maybe they're gonna solemn warning it, but then they have to pay 2,000 life points. So you know, just little things, just a little food for thought right there. So yeah, have a nice day, YouTube.